So welcome back to the Beats with True Wellness Center, and I'm your host, Kelly Kennedy, and we have a very fun show, I can tell already. Leilani and I have been connected through one of our incredible clients of a few years, and she kept saying, you got to try the CBD, and I was like, oh, another CBD company. Yeah, sure. And, you know, we've carried one CBD company ever in 18 years. We carried it for about 2 years, and we got great results with it. We just found that they were not ready for a big business. Let's put it that way. They had a really great grassroots product, a really great product, really clean product, really effective product. But there was a lot of inconsistencies in the product and in the pricing and sort of things and quality and supply. Right. So I've been hesitant to take on CBD because there's a lot of myths out there. We're going to talk about today, but there's also just a lot of product on. Yes. You know, and I have many full-time jobs, probably 8. And I don't need another full-time job to research all the great products out there, including the CBD. But based upon respect for this client and knowing that she's very aware, we received the product. And it was a few months, as I mentioned to Leilani, before we used it, because I are in pretty good health. We don't really need it. And I wanted to wait till I needed it to see what kind of effect it would have. And Ian hurt his hip, I forget how, sometime in December or something. And he used it. He was like, hey, that actually is really helping me. I was like, hey, how about that? And then Julie, who many of you know, hopefully I'm not throwing Julie under a bus of any kind. She loves to be talked about on podcasts. Julie, I'm talking about you. She had cavitational surgery in December and a root canal extracted, and she was dealing with a lot of pain, and she was at the house and she was telling me about how ibuprofen was the only thing that was cutting it. And you all know how I feel about that. So I was like, let's see what I might have that we can like give you that's not that. And I found the liquid CBD from you. And so I was like, try it, see. And I said, we're trying to test this product out now anyway, so let me know how. She put one dropper in her mouth and she was like, in 10 minutes, she's like, oh my God, Kelly, I already feel better. So then she took that bottle home and I haven't seen it since.
I got to send you another one.
It's all good. But I just, you know, I want to talk about what makes your product different. But I want to talk about your story a little bit, because I think one of the things we just briefly talked about off camera was, you know, one of the things we talked about on the Beats is the history of medicine's been around longer than 200 years, and it always didn't come in a pill and didn't always just like all roads lead back to Rockefeller and oil.
Right.
And I would like you to talk about that, because when I was in college, I was forced to write a paper about the quote unquote, the effects of marijuana as a quote unquote punishment. They didn't know what they were saying or who they were saying it to. So I wrote a paper on the effects of marijuana and hemp. And I started to research it, was blown away at what I discovered about how hemp was like just taken right out from the DuPonts and that whole thing. And was like, holy cow. And 80% of our pharmaceuticals prior to 1920 contained cannabis. And why that is, you guys, there's so much here. I was so thankful that that was my punishment. They were not so happy, because I presented a paper about all the benefits of marijuana, THC, and cannabis, and why we should be using these in our medicine. And that wasn't really well received by my residence director and so forth.
I bet you still have that paper. I'd love to read it.
You know what? God only knows. It was probably written on some like old computer. There was no thumb drives back then, or
look, now you've come full circle.
Disc.
But now we're full circle, and we're talking about marijuana and cannabis and CBD and healing, right?
Yeah. So let's go. Let's talk about it.
So, well, my backstory is I'm born and raised in Hawaii, 4 generations. So as we were discussing earlier, it's kind of a way of life. You know, we never went to Western doctors. We went to La'au Lapa'au, which was basically your holistic healers. You got Lomi, you got the herbs and all that.
So what's the name of that again? You said it and I didn't know that. I'd never heard
La'au Lapa'au. And La'au Lapa'au were kahunas or healers of holistic medicine, very similar to Native Americans. You know, we would go to
the indigenous people of the Hawaiian. That's what I want people of the Hawaiian Islands. This was the indigenous medicine. And this is what is missing in Western culture, is this information, this wisdom, this knowledge that's passed from generation to generation through the indigenous people. Why in New Zealand, the Maori, which I know I'm going to botch how I said that, but the Maori in New Zealand are passing on this information, as Desiree talks about. And I don't know much about it, but I know Lomi massage, because I've been a table whore for a long time. And let me tell you, Lomi massage is like fascia and lymph and like soothing and love and it's like Thai massage and oil and flowing, and it's just like, oh, it's such a gift for somebody that really knows how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I came from that mindset where, you know, we had one vet, one doctor, one hospital, which you basically went to die, give birth, or ER. I mean, there's no way in between. Your parents would take you there. So we went to these healers, and they would heal us for whatever, unless, of course, it was something really serious, right? And then when Western medicine came in, all the locals went to physicians. And like my mom just got hooked on everything because the doctor gave it to her. And it was back in the day, you know, where it was just Xanax and, you know, diet pill and just everything. So at 40, she got Parkinson's. Her dopamine was just gone. And so when I saw my mom progress at such a young age, and we knew it was from these medications, I said, Mom, you know, why did you not go back to La'au, right? Well, the doctor gave it to me. See, the mindset is amazing, right? And I'm going back now to like what you're doing, that you have to get, I'm not poo-pooing Western medicine at all. I'm just saying, try to get another modality layer. And, or if nothing's working, you know, all of it together, I feel is the gift that we have, is to use different modalities. And so when I started giving my mom the CBD, where she was getting agitated, she lost almost 70 pounds, everything flipped, where she now went home to hospice a year, lived 7 years. So I come from a passion of not only the fact that you're Hawaii, and my company Gold Wawi stands for Kona Gold and Maui Wawi, which is two of the biggest strains of cannabis and renowned in the world as the best strains of cannabis. So when you come from that kind of a background, even though I'm the only blonde in the family, it's something more like a culture and tradition. So if I don't have the best full spectrum product, I would really be laughed out of town. I mean, I can't be like these guys trying to make the quick buck. You know, it's really simple with what's online right now. Most of it is not what I would call a medical grade CBD product. So there's 3 types, right? There is full spectrum, which what the name means. It encompasses the full plant. So we have our plants grown in Colorado. They get extracted by CO2, which is the purest form. At this point, it goes to a lab for independent testing. We don't know where it's going to go, but they're testing for toxins, chemicals, heavy metals, because I want to know what's being put in my body, or you or your patients. I don't want, so most of the people out there that don't have THC in their product, they don't have to go through this process. They're just selling bogus CBD that sometimes when they test doesn't even have CBD in it. That's a scary part. So what sets us apart really is the fact that we are going to be here a long time, because we stand behind the product from seed to sale. But then where you have this other company that kind of outgrew itself in a sense, when they get big clients like yourself, it's different for us. We have I have a staff of the best guys on the planet, from Finland all the way to Oklahoma shipping, but our state-of-the-art facility in Texas is temperature controlled. So the minute somebody goes online, you know, from and you have an account, it goes right to them. They pull it out of the state-of-the-art. They send the product, they send the tracking, customer service. I'm the education side. So I just got off the phone before I spoke to you with the guy that, you know, has an animal that's really, really sick and that nothing's working. So I'm here for education, like, okay, giving dosing suggestions, and how to do that. And that's why I got certified, because I think dosing is such an important key, right? And education to you, your staff, and to patients. So not only do we have the best quality product, a full spectrum that has all the cannabinoids, because there's up to 144 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. The difference between marijuana and hemp, it's the same sativa family. It's just grown at a lower THC. So in other words, 0.3% is the legal limit in any CBD product that contains THC. And with marijuana, it can go up to now 30%, I mean, THC. So that will get you high. That's the difference. With the lower dose of THC, synergistically, all the cannabinoids work together and it heals the endocannabinoid system, but doesn't get you high. I think that's what people think. I'm taking marijuana, it's going to get, no, it won't get you high. It's not about that. The endocannabinoid system runs through all mammals' bodies, and there's two main receptors. There's a CB1 and a CB2. So the CB1.
Let's back up one step,
okay,
just if you don't mind. Thank you so much, Leilani. You're a wealth of information. I want to make sure that people understand. Let's start with, what is a cannabinoid?
Okay. Like a cannabinoid is molecules. It's molecules that are found in a cannabis plant, right? And there's under the umbrella of marijuana, there's hemp and there's indica, sativa, there's different strains. But with a cannabinoid, there's CBN. The big brother now to CBD is for inflammation. And I have a product, it's a CBG/CBD cannabigerol. That is a molecule that they found that even is much more potent than CBD when they isolate it for inflammation and pain. Okay, so every day they're learning that, they started.
So there's 144 different molecules that start with the word canna, essentially,
right,
and end in a boyd or a neuro or a
right.
And so what these molecules are found in the marijuana plant, and the marijuana plant, which is the leaf that she's got behind her head there, that's marijuana leaf. And within the marijuana leaf, you will have different strains. So you'll have an indica or a sativa or a hemp, that these are different strands that have a different percentage of THC versus CBD.
Right.
But all of the THC and CBD are cannabinoid.
Cannabinoids are found in
cannabinoids. I always want to not put that extra syllable in there.
Yeah. It's just the THC limit of a hemp plant is supposed to be only up to 0.3%. And that's what's great, because if you actually was to extract, and you go to dispensaries and you can get this tinctures. Rick Simpson has an oil out. You're talking 30%. That would be like, whoop. But if you had cancer, if you had something really, really serious, I would say, that's what you should be taking.
Get a little bit stronger medicinal therapeutic dosing.
Yeah, and you will be high. So sit on your couch and watch a movie because you are good. But if you're in pain, I would rather take that than hydrocodone or morphine or some of the other things. It also helps with nausea. So again, people that are getting sick from all different medications, one thing with CBD, it helps an array of issues.
And why is it? What is it about our bodies, as a leading question?
Yeah. And it's a great question, because that's what people don't tell you. They try to sell the CBD, but they're not telling you the mechanics of why it works. And so that's a brilliant question. So in 1998, after they discovered THC and cannabidiol, which is CBD, in 1964, they found this endocannabinoid system that it runs through all mammals. So whether you're a cat, a horse, human, it doesn't matter. We all have an endocannabinoid system that regulates the body. So once that is thrown off from whatever reason, right? Inflammation or injury, surgery, whatever, it's just like an adrenal gland. Over time, it's going to start to break down. So feeding it cannabinoids, right, in a full spectrum CBD oil, it then adheres to the receptors in the endocannabinoid system to make you well. So we're, this, medications are Band-Aids. Yes, it could help the pain, but it doesn't heal the body. Feeding it CBD will heal the endocannabinoid system and adhere to these receptors that regulate everything from pain, mood, depression, sleep. That's why sometimes I tell people, take the gummy, take the capsule, and it'll stay in your digestive tract, right? And then you will sleep the night through. Tinctures are great for, like what you were saying, how your friend had immediate pain. You put it under your tongue, normally it goes right into your bloodstream, and in 20 minutes, the pain subsides and it's in your bloodstream. So there's two ways of administering CBD.
So the endocannabinoid system, entero meaning gut, right? So there's
Right.
This system, like I think about the lymphatic system, right?
Right.
'Cause I'm a lymph queen. So it goes
Right.
from your head to your toes.
You are the
So
lymph queen. I read that.
where do we find this? Where does this system live in our bodies? I don't know
Well,
the answer. I'm so
yeah, there's
curious.
receptors throughout, and I can send you a map so that you can show your clients. There's
Oh, great.
receptors and specific receptors all over. So the CB1 receptor for your nervous system is in the brain, basically your whole nervous system. The peripheral is a CB2, so your liver, all your organs and tissues. So they'll target that and start working to heal and get to those areas. And it's very similar to, you know, lymph work, right? I mean, it really is. I'm also a very big magna wave believer as well. Any kind of PEMF, you know, pulsing in, you know, getting that oxygen in the cells, getting it to move. That's another fantastic way of why I think CBD is probably one of the best things if it is full spectrum.
And
But
so the full spectrum, you're talking about the stems, the seeds, the flower, as well as the leaf,
right,
all aspects of the plant are utilized in your tinctures, in your creams, in your
yes.
ointments,
Mhm.
because each one of those. So if we look at it from a homeopathic perspective, right? Most people use the flower for the
Right.
homeopathics.
Mhm.
With oils, like people are doing essential oils, they're
Right.
using the oil from the leaf.
Mhm.
And I don't really know how to use the stems. And
Right.
I don't think anybody just uses stems. You either do that or you do whole full spectrum. So
Right.
what's the benefit of that, Leilani, in regards to using the full spectrum?
Because the full spectrum is how God created it. You know what I mean? I mean, this is the plant. Here's the whole plant. We put it through the extraction and it'll squeeze out all the goodness of that plant. So all the terpenes, all the cannabinoids, you know, so
What's a
all that.
terpene?
A terpene is a flavor profile, depending where you grow it, right? So terpenes could be just like when you go into a dispensary, you'll see a lemonine. So it has this lemon or pineol, which is another type of terpene. Anything in the plant is going into that bottle. When you see something online that contains no THC, they've altered the plant. So because they want to sell it to people that go, well, I don't want THC because I get tested at work or my religion or whatever it is. But you might as well just take olive oil, because they've stripped all the terpenes out, the THC, all, and just left that CBD molecule, which does nothing. Another really big warning flag is hemp seed extract. You'll see that on Amazon. All it is just getting the seeds, crushing it, putting it into carrier oil, which could be coconut, sunflower, you know, coconut's kind of the favorite. And they're selling online with no repercussions at all, no lab tests, no nothing. And of course, nothing that's going to make you well, because there's nothing in there. They've stripped it all out.
And so CBD by itself, you're saying, doesn't really have a benefit on the body by itself, stripped away.
By itself, no, I can firmly believe that. And the reason why I know that is because there's so much research that synergistically, the THC is like the lock, and all the other cannabinoids is the key. And it just feeds itself. When you take that one component away, it just doesn't. And I could make millions more by having a broad spectrum product that contains no THC, because I have clients that have polo horses, you know, Olympic dressage. I have athletes, and they all go, I get tested. I'm like, okay, but if you're laid up for 3 or 4 months, who cares? You just stop 30 days out before you have to do it, right? But don't you want to heal? I can't feel good about selling a product that does not have the main component to healing them.
But it's going to have less than that 0.3. Is it 0.3 or 3%?
Yeah, 0.03%, right.
0.3 of THC. So there's going to be no psychological hallucinogenic effect. It's
No.
purely just a healing effect,
Right.
of the synergistic effect of this THC with the CBD to create the proper array, if you will, of
Right.
cannabinoids.
Yes, they work together synergistically, just like everything in life should be a balance, right? Then it puts everything back in a homeostasis, and the endocannabinoid system, which again just was discovered in 1998 by scientists. This is what is just miraculous about a full spectrum product. Broad spectrum. If it doesn't have THC, throw the bottle away. If it doesn't have a lab report, throw the bottle away. If it's hemp seed, throw the bottle away. If it's an isolate, all it is a powder. It's junk, and they send the powder and the guys mix it with an oil, throw it away. Full spectrum is the only product that anybody should be using for health benefits.
And you said there's 3 different kinds. So there's full spectrum, there's broad spectrum, and then what's the third one?
Isolate. And isolate is like, you know, just what it sounds. They just powdered it so it's easier to ship. And then you just, you know, pick your carrier of choice or fruit flavors. I don't put any of that. My stuff smells like weed, tastes like weed. People go, you know, when they see the gummies that I have, right? I don't know if I'll send you the gummies if you don't have it, but you know, they think I'm selling a Haribo bear, you know, full of sugar. I'm like, no, you know, we use, you know, all natural extracts. The only thing that we roll it in is cane sugar, right? To make it palatable, and it tastes good, but they're expecting to get like, you know, a gummy bear, right? So that's the thing. You need to keep it all natural and all organic, you know, and don't put anything flavors. And I just don't, you know, I just don't effort my product, as you would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when, is your background in natural medicine?
I've always been in natural medicine. I mean, since La'au Lapa'au, and I feel it's a lost art. And I think when my mom lost track of that, and I had to help her, and I had that 7 years. I was, you know, Hawaii is always a holistic. That's why I love what you're doing, because people just don't, they just see black or white. They don't see anything like in the middle, right? Yeah. Of modalities. I think now, of course, much more so.
The last 2 years has been great.
Yes, because they're getting educated that stop with big pharma, stop. Like literally, there's other alternatives that you can go to be well and get healthy, right? And it's not just taking a pill. So to answer your question, I've always been involved in some way, sort of form with this. But after cannabis, I actually went and got certified. There's actually a university for marijuana, by the way. Really? Yeah, so Trichome Institute is kind of Max Montrose, we call him the sommelier of weed. I mean, you know, his classes are like, you go to a wine class and you're sniffing the strains. It's hilarious. But in all seriousness, it's also about dosing properly and really how to utilize the plant to get well. So there is a universe. So I got certified as a cannabis medicinal practitioner because I want to know what I'm helping people with. So I study everything. One of the other misconceptions is the fact that, well, you know, it's not legal. There's no pharmaceutical aspect to this. Well, this is very, very important for people that don't know this. There's 2 drugs right now that you could go to your doctor, and there's a company in the UK called GW Pharmaceuticals, and they are the ones that patented and provided for these. It started off, remember Charlotte, when all the seizures and all this, right? Back in that time, Charlotte's Web, but they had nothing to do with this company. They created, because it was in Ireland, right? And also in England, Sativex and Epilidex. And Epilidex is for seizures. And it's all cannabis. This is a marijuana-based that is pharmaceutical and sent to physicians. Then MS was a big thing, right? People had all the different symptoms of MS. They created Sativex, Sativa, Sativex. Again, all marijuana-based pharmaceutical. So when people say, oh, but it's not used in medicine, yes, it is. And from a pharmaceutical company. So if you had seizures, you would go to your doctor and he's probably going to prescribe you for seizures, Epilidex, you know?
Well, and do you know about that from prior to 1920, that 80% of our pharmaceuticals that were prescribed by medical doctors at the time, before the AMA came into play,
right?
80% of them contained cannabinoid.
Yep.
80%.
I know. It was in every drugstore. You could just go and get it in the bottles. I know it's amazing. And to the DuPonts and that whole story came out, as we were talking about earlier. It's all about politics and greed and all the stuff, because, you know, Chinese are using it thousands and thousands of years ago. Egyptians are using it thousands and thousands of years ago. It was a medicinal, you know, medication.
And in many circles of indigenous people, it's been known as the oh, what is it? The plant, not the medicinal plant, the lucky plant. Oh, come on. There's a term. I can't think of it, like Cocopelli kind of
Oh,
excuse.
yeah.
It's just all
Right.
because it's in it, like you said, there's receptors in our brains, there's receptors in our guts. It helps with nausea. It's grateful. It's so great for people going through chemo and to help with that. I mean, the goal is you don't need the chemo. You get somewhere before you need the chemo. But I'll say from my own story, in college when I was in a horrible car accident and I was living on Vicodin and Flexerol, they took an edge off, but that's about all they did. Whereas marijuana was my saving grace. That was really how I was able to function, in all honesty. And, I wasn't smoking it to get high. I was smoking it to reduce my pain so I could go to practice. Yeah, you heard me.
Wow.
Go to practice. And so I could go to classes, and I couldn't carry my backpack around, but I was smoking a little marijuana to help manage my pain because it did way better than Flexerol and Vicodin. And Vicodin and Flexerol, well, Vicodin particularly caused me to be constipated, because that's what a lot of opioids do, is they cause constipation. Yep. And THC was like, oh, finally I can poop because I got a little marijuana in my system. But in general, what I noticed was the effect that it made on my nervous system. That prior to that, I would say I was a very, and I would say that some people might say that I'm still wound a little tight. Okay, all you can laugh now. Go ahead, laugh. Yes, I know I'm freaking wound tight, but I'm much less wound tight.
Yes.
Because of this work and because of what I've learned. But that's what I noticed with marijuana all those years ago, was like, it just like allowed me to chill in a different way. And meditation does that for me as well. And my Flowpresso does that for me. And I have lots of ways to hack that. But I was really, I mean, I was raised in a household where marijuana and cocaine were the same. Like there was no difference. They're both horrible, evil drugs, and you better never touch them. And because of the person that introduced me to marijuana, I was open to it. And I would say I was drinking heavily up to that point. I was a teenager. Do the math. I was drinking heavily as a teenager. And then I was introduced to marijuana. I was like, I woke up the next day. I was like, hey, I don't have a headache. Hey, I feel good. Huh. And I remembered everything. Unlike when I would drink, I couldn't remember a thing that would happen. I'd be sloppy. Things were all over the place. I'd often get sick. It'd take me a couple days to feel better. So, there's a lot to this. And I think that it's been around in our indigenous world forever. And it's been God's miracle plan in many ways to heal us in many ways. And if I think there were probably, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Leilani, but I'm sure there were people eating the whole plant back forever ago because they didn't know any better. Smoking
I mean,
with it, trying to get all the benefits out of this plant.
Right. I agree completely. And isn't it funny that now we can have this conversation and talk openly about smoking marijuana for pain, where back in the day that you'd never, you think.
Oh, I'm just praying my mother doesn't watch this episode because she's going to like have a cow. But outside of her, I'm fine with it. But I just, that's the thing. It has a stigma, right? So let's talk about, where did that stigma come from? How did that happen? If 80% of all pharmaceutical drugs contain cannabis prior to 1920, why do we have a stigma that smoking a little marijuana for my pain is the same as being a coke addict?
Right. Well, I lived through that whole Reagan era in Hawaii, where they made Hawaii the scapegoat, and they spent billions to have what they called Operation Green Harvest. And the guys are in our backyard with the rotors coming off, propelling off of helicopters to go through to pull out, because, it grew like orchids. But it was just traumatizing as like a 11, 12-year-old kid. I was like, mom screaming, and my mom's yelling, get in the house. I mean, it was just, and all it was is just politics. It was just all about politics. Because it's a Schedule I drug, which is so bizarre, right? And yet you've got hydrocodone that killed so many people and is so addictive that it's just crazy. And yet this drug can still be sold. And yet something that's holistic and organic is put off on a Schedule I. It's slowly changing though, because think about it, right? 48, it can have CBD. There's so many states now that are all recreational and medicinal, But I feel just like you're saying, the stigma it's lessened a lot now, because I think people are making their own decisions with their health, right? As you probably notice. And they're not taking the big lie anymore. They're doing their own research and they're realizing, wait a minute, these pills are making me sick. They aren't helping. Big pharma, it's just the whole back end game of paying people off. I'm going to go try something holistic. I'm going to go to Kelly's place and try something, right? And they're getting smarter. And then, of course, adding to the modalities that you do comes internal supplements, right? How can we heal our system? And that's what we wanted to do. And we come in from a place of Hawaii. I mean, there's no better cannabis than Hawaii. It's just kind of everywhere. We smoke it, we ate it, we made all our stuff. We did it all. Nobody died from it. You might have had a bad high and somebody's crashing on your sofa or ate all your food, but it was never anyone we knew that died from doing cannabis. Seriously.
No, seriously, that was one of the things that I said in my report, like the amount of people that die in car accidents each year. And I had been in a car accident already. So you have to understand this was part of the story. And it was like, this is how many people died every year from a car accident. This is how many people died from opioids. And this is how many people died, which was 0, from smoking marijuana. And I was like, because at the time I was using it for pain and I was busted and I was told that I had to be kicked out of campus and blah, 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 blah.
Oh my God.
Like, oh my God, I'm just trying to like feel better. I mean, there may have been a little recreation involved. Okay. But the reality was that was my medicine at that time.
Well, I'm proud of you for sharing that story. That's just tremendous. I mean, really.
Well,
so you're like
share this podcast. No, I'm kidding.
I think people would be proud of you. I think a lot of people that are coming up in the world, especially the younger guys that I'm working with, half the guys are half my age. They look up to us because we're kind of the big OGs, right? We're the original gangsters of cannabis and marijuana. And we never looked at it as anything wrong then. And now it is kind of, we can talk about it. Now it's just now kind of filtering out the crap from the medical grade and what can really help you, medicinally.
And that's what I want everybody to really get from this. Not that, Kelly smoked pot since she was 20, but that there are different strains and that you are looking at pharmaceutical grade. And that you've got to have somebody behind there. It's just like organic labels, right? We all know 20 years ago when I started eating organic, there was 4 labels that I would look for. And now I walk into Giant or Hennings or Whole Foods or whatever, and there's 15 companies or 30 companies that will do this. And then I look and I'm like, yeah, but like Kellogg's is this brand. And they only changed their fields over 2 years ago and they're calling it organic. And if you know anything about organic and soil, it's in there for like 30 years, the pesticides are, but in 3 years, they're like, oh, we can call your soil organic. So you got to really know what you're buying and who you're buying from, just like at your local farmers. And what I have found, and again, I have to hit Melanie up for giving me the kudos to introduce her to Leilani to me, but not all CBDs are created equal and not all plants are created equal. And there's something special about this marijuana plant.
Yes.
It has so much wisdom, not unlike spirulina and chlorella, not unlike light. This naturally occurring grows. It's a weed that grows out of the ground that you have to kind of like bamboo control its growth. Really, because bamboo is insidious, much like the weed of marijuana. But the difference is, am I looking to get high and really up my THC, or am I just looking to incite my own healing capacities, my own cannabinoids in my body, by having a high synergistic effect of low THC, high cannabis. Right? Am I getting it right?
Yep, you got it. Yeah. Very good. Such a short time. I mean, we can go into all the scientific detail. I try to keep it simple for people.
Well, I do want you to keep it simple, but I have I don't normally do this, but I have some questions.
Yeah, I want to bring it
on. There are some myths, right? So, the biggest myth, I would say, I think we've already covered that myth. So I have a myth. So it's extraction. You get it CO2 extracted. Does that not denature the plant, Leilani?
No, not really, because the way they used to do it is with ethanol. They still do it with ethanol, companies that are cheap, and ethanol is poison. I mean, it's just not good. So there's only so many ways, just like when you do oils, right? Essential oils, there's only so many ways you can do it. So CO2 is the cleanest way to do it, because it's kind of using that system of not having to put any, I mean, there's always going to be something, but we want to strip it out. So when it goes to the lab test, there's just little percents where it's not going to harm you, right? Without a lab report, my God, I wouldn't even touch anything that was, this kind of internally. You got to know what you're putting in your body.
And on your body. I'm a firm believer of that.
Yes, what goes on goes in. Exactly.
What goes on goes in. And, and I want to say this about our cream because it's brown.
Mm-hmm.
It is a crap brown color.
Yes.
And
love it.
Ian had used it on his hip and got some good results. And then I had something with my shoulder. I was like, oh, I'll try it. And we were down in South Carolina. I had a white, like cheap t-shirt on. So I rubbed it all over my shoulder. I got up the next morning. I was like, ooh, it looks like I doo-dooed on my shirt. It's so gross. And part of me was like, you should just throw it away and make it a rag because it was brown and I didn't expect it to come out. But I was like, I'll throw it in the wash and see what happens. And it all came out. I was blown away.
Yeah, that salve, by the way, is an award-winning salve. And again, I'm not going to put some dyes and color to turn it to like bubblegum pink or whatever. I want it to smell like weed. It is, because it's medicine, right? I'm jarring medicine in a way. So that little jar has 28 ingredients, from hemp, arnica, aloe vera, frankincense. I can just go on and on. It's like 28. And then we had to jar it. And so, but then people use it. Eczema, psoriasis. I mean, I've had people that it's just nothing they've taken that helped. They put that salve on every day and they don't have it anymore.
And the reason behind that is because what? Because of the enteric system, that is the Endocannabinoid System. That is like, what's the mechanism
for the salve? Well,
all of it. Like, why does, it's like one shot wonder, right? We're not big fans of like, oh, this cures everything.
No, right.
But CBD tends to cross a lot of bridges.
They do, but I don't do it that way. I mean, I specifically target the person and specifically target what there's issues. There's some issues that, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not. And you cannot mix certain CBDs and medications at the same time. That's why I always tell people, I'm giving you suggested dosing, but I don't know you or what medications you're taking. And with anything, right, you need to know. It's not like it's going to be any different. You need to take it at separate times, right? That's how you do it first thing in the morning. So it's a great question. And with our products, we don't go and we sell it when people use it for whatever it is that they are using it for. I don't say it's going to cure cancer, and it's bullshit. I mean, it's going to see how your body's going to react to it, right? And then if you get back into homeostasis and the receptors are working and it's healing, you're going to see the results yourself. I don't need to tout that it's going to cure 20 different things, because that would be bullshit. And I'm not going to sit here and lie. Everybody's different as well. If you don't take it every day and you've got a consistent issue, it's not going to work, If you've been on, it takes a year for cells to regenerate, as well as the fact that you've been on a medication. You take 3 months for that to get out of your system. There's all kinds of things that can happen. But I don't know, so far to me, I just feel like we're on the cusp of working with people like you, which I have a lot of love people like you, they're just doing all this, cutting edge technology. And I'm just now giving you another vehicle to internally take, and whatever you're going to do with them, with the modalities that you do, it's just a win-win. You know what I'm saying? Because CBD is healing to the endocannabinoid system.
What I want to do is, Leilani shared a lot of information with us in regards to looking for what's real and what's authentic and true to form and true to its perfect nature of full spectrum CBD, and the effectiveness of the 2 strains that she used, which have been award-winning strains for decades in the marijuana world, let alone for the medicinal effects of it, as she's proved. Leilani's done, I mean, this is her life's work in regards to educating people about the beautiful benefits. And first and foremost, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Persistence. It has not been easy for us to connect for some reason. But it's been wonderful to connect with you today. And I want to just leave the audience with a question that I ask a lot of my guests, which is, you know, in our world of seekers, as which we both are, we tend to, and educators, seekers and educators, right? We tend to learn fast and want to throw it back out to the world, what we've learned. So in your years and all the things that you've done in your life and all the wisdom and the joy that exudes from your body, what is the secret you would like to be able to give to the world that if you could educate them, and all 7.6 billion people who are listening right now, what is the secret you want them to know?
As it opposed to CBD or just in life?
Just whatever you want it to be. Has no
honestly, I hope people go back to like what we were talking about, indigenous medicine, you know, la'au lapa'au, you know, going to holistic ways. And I'm not here to poo-poo Western medicine. I'm here to say, let's start over and start the clock with, let's go to holistic first and see what they can do before I pop a pill, which is, you know, I just want to tell people to try to live a life, because we all love to have a drink, smoke it, you know, do whatever we want to do, right? We're not perfect human beings. We're not all vegan, but if we can balance it out, we would just be better humans, I think, than just, okay, now I go to the doctor, get a pill and I'm going to be fine. It becomes a lifestyle, right? And I know just from my experience that for me doing acupuncture and PEMF and massage and all this, I'm just a better human being. You know, spiritually as well. I'm just a better human being. So if people just stop looking at everything as just money and greed and time and everybody's flying with their hair on fire, and just step back and take care of themselves and not wait until it's too late. Because I always tell people, well, either take it now or you're going to pay later. I mean, take that approach to your health and to your life and your business. Because then you'll have passion for whatever you do, because you're in a good mood. You're actually, your body is feeling great. You talk to the most successful entrepreneurs and they'll tell you they do yoga and meditation and all these things for a reason. It's because it's a holistic approach to life. That's what I gotta say. And then say aloha.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for following me here on Kelly Wellness Girl. I just want to comment that, honestly, this is not a Instagram handle that I regularly post to. So we would ask you to follow us at either The Beats, which is more of our virtual presence, our podcasts and newsletters, or at or the True Wellness Center, which is more a compilation of what we do every day in our physical practice and recipes, and just in general more about what we're doing, because we are going to be closing out the Kelly Wellness Girl account, because I think it's a little bit confusing. And I thank you all for your attendance here, your attention here. If you could just do me a favor and redirect your attention and your focus over to The Beats and the True Wellness Center. See you there.